Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 117 of the High Sensitivity Gaming Podcast, and thank you for listening. If it's your first time here, we talk about video game and movie news as well as what we watched or played over the week. My name is Barry, along with my co hosts.
My name is Craig.
And my name is Craig as well. There are two Craigs afoot.
Yes, always.
And just like how you're always guaranteed a Craig, you're always guaranteed the news on this podcast. So, let's get into the news.
That was smooth.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm going to say it every single time. You know that, right?
It wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't my best. I'm not exactly the proudest.
We're gonna have to call you
one,
Barry
but
Segway.
Do you want to try again, or do you want to roll with it?
No, we're gonna roll with it
All
because
right,
you want to
let's
know
roll with
what
it.
you want to know what because you guys are always on the podcast, but you want to know what I don't expect. Gamers suck.
Okay.
Is what I'm going to talk about this week.
Okay.
We had two incidents this week where Santa Monica developers get sent unsolicited dick pics because people are upset that God of War isn't being shown off. And then we also have an incident where the Monkey Island developer also announced he's going to stop sharing news about the game because people are criticizing the art style. I'm not sure if I should have to say this, to be honest, but people suck. I really hate gamers sometimes and how people think they're so entitled to, I want news now, give me news, or tell me it's delayed. We don't have any right to demand from any game developer when we should have news or when they should tell us. It's up to them and them alone, because game development has changed since COVID. So many people are now working from home, and it's just not the same. And I just can't believe, somebody, especially like Santa Monica Studios, no one deserves unsolicited dick pics. No one deserves that, because it's just a flood of them. If for whatever reason any of us got it, or any of us that we knew had unsolicited dick pics, I'd deactivate my Twitter. I'd be like, yeah, Twitter's done. I'm done with it. It's just the hazing I can't stand for, the way people act I can't stand for. It's just absolutely disrespectful to people, and I just saw this stuff and I got mad because all of us are excited for God of War.
Yep.
Just like everybody else is. We all want to hear when it's coming out. We hope it's this year. If it's not, whatever. But we don't have any right to entitle, okay, you got to tell us soon here, because we have to know. I just think it's ridiculous. But if you guys are more than welcome to share your thoughts.
Well, what happened to the days where we were just excited just to get a game like 100% of the way, not when it's coming out or whatever, but let's all just try to remember when we were younger. I don't care which generation you are. There was a time where you were just happy to have a copy of even a crappy game in your hands. I remember the first time I got the PlayStation, I got a game called 2 Extreme. It was
so good.
It was very, very not my game. And I played that to death until I had the first PlayStation game that was bought for me after that. And that game was my PlayStation game. And what happened to that feeling? We should just be thankful. People are working through these COVID, and we're not out of COVID. You know what I mean? Even though we all kind of feel like it's a lot more subdued in terms of what it restricts us to, but everybody still has to work, and we're trying to see a good product, especially with a game like God of War. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We should not be as pressing and just let game developers do their job. They're working under extreme pressure, and they're working under more extreme circumstances than they're used to. Let's just let them do their job.
I think what happened is we have easy access to the developers, wherein back in the day we didn't, right? Mm-hmm. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, we didn't have that access. So I think there was probably still people like that out there, but you just didn't have that way to get in contact and have them actually hear you. So you just kind of were like, oh man, I wish I wish I knew when Final Fantasy 8 was coming out. I'm tired of playing 7 for the 15th time,
Mm-hmm.
but you just kind of waited for E3 or whatever. I mean, I remember having a countdown on my calendar that I scratched off every day for Tony Hawk, the very first Tony Hawk game. Just being like, oh man, 47 more days until Tony Hawk's Pro Skater comes out on
Yep.
PlayStation. That's just, that's just what you did. But yeah, and I don't know if you had it written down anywhere, Barry, but also tying into that, there was the guy who bought $40,000 of Nintendo stock
Yeah.
just so he could go to the board meeting to ask when they're going to remake F-Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess if you have that kind of money to throw around, I'm okay with his method, honestly, because he had the money to buy the stocks to be in the shareholders meeting to be like, hey, you guys going to make an F-Zero remake? That's fine. But yeah, the hazing and all that going on over a God of War game, because if they think this is going to push them to release it earlier and it's not done, then they're just going to complain that it's not finished and looks like crap.
Yeah.
So I mean, you just, like you said, put on your big boy pants and wait like everybody else until they tell us. And it's not going to make it go any faster, these methods that they're trying. So, yeah, it's a little childish, I think.
I saw that article too. If you guys had $40,000 worth of Nintendo stock, would F-Zero be the
Mhm.
game that you asked for when you got into the shareholder? Because like I was surprised. F-Zero is not my
Yeah.
first Nintendo like choice, or second,
Right.
or third, or fourth, or you could see where I'm going with this. So,
You would think like Breath of the Wild would have been what he would have asked.
that's
Like,
true.
when's Breath of the Wild coming out? And they're still going to tell you you're not going to learn that from us, even if you do own $40,000 of stock.
Mhm.
Yeah, what I like to think is that this man, because F-Zero game, because the F-Zero game really hasn't come out in a long time, he
Mhm.
invested that money and now has enough money to get into the shareholders meeting just because
Yeah.
he never spent the money on other F-Zero games.
There you go.
Where
Yeah.
if you were a Mario, Pokemon, or any other fan, you probably spend the money for it. I've got no problem with what he did. That's
Yeah.
more like fun, I guess, meme culture, funny in a nice way. And
Yeah.
to be honest, there are a group of people who really want to see another F-Zero game come to the Nintendo, whether it's a remaster or it's a brand new game of some way. I just feel like Nintendo feels like they don't have to do that because you have games like Wipeout that are kind of like it, and you also their racing game is Mario Kart. That's what
Yeah.
they want you to get is Mario Kart.
Mhm.
But I would not be opposed to be seeing another F-Zero game, of course. It's something that we haven't seen for a while. I just have a feeling that the reason they haven't made it yet is because really not enough people are asking for it.
Except
Yeah.
that guy.
The F's
Yeah.
except that guy, yeah. If every F-Zero fan did the same thing he did, then they'd probably be a little bit more inclined to do so, but not everybody's got 40Ks just laying around in stock to use. So,
Wouldn't have been
True.
great. Wouldn't have been great.
Yeah. And also,
Okay.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Mine's stupid.
No. I want to hear it.
I was going to say, wouldn't it have been great if he just walked in and just stepped into that shareholders meeting after acquiring all that stock and just went, show me your moves. Like walked in and just show me your moves, Tim. I hope he did that and they just didn't report that because that would have been great. Barry, you
That
do
would have
not
been
seem
hilarious.
impressed with with my hopeful theory here.
I think he's just blown away with how good that was.
no, yeah, it's not that I'm not impressed. I just don't have the kind of it. I just didn't imagine ever that being a thing, and then when you said it, I was like, oh, okay, that does make sense.
That would have been the greatest thing.
That's just my face.
That's
That's
just
my
that's
face.
just my
I
face.
Yeah, just don't
I-
surprise very well.
I do want to tie into this kind of with something else, and this is probably more up your alley, Barry, but also Sucker Punch has no plans to visit Infamous or Sly Cooper, which kind of ties into what Nintendo's doing. And I know that's got to hurt your soul a little bit. Like, I could go for an Infamous remaster. I think that could be cool.
Yeah.
1 and 2. Third one, but like I could go for those, and Sly Cooper I think would do well. I'm just surprised they're just pretty much totally ruling it off the table.
Yeah, I do personally think that those types of games aren't considered maybe necessarily needed to be remastered yet, but it also doesn't have to be Sucker Punch that does them. They
Yeah.
bought Blue Point. that remaster Demon Souls. If they're going to have like Bluepoint as the people who do remasters for them or create their own games, completely up to what they decide to do with it. They could just have Bluepoint remaster old games that were on the PS3. And Infamous, you're right, is something I'd like to see, because
Yeah.
it was one of those, and especially right now with this, like, you don't see a lot of original hero games out anymore, if ever. It's funny you mentioned that, because during all of the talk about it, I watched like a 45-minute video on YouTube about how Infamous was one of like the better hero games that has ever
Yep.
come out,
Mhm.
and especially due to its originality, with getting the choice of being good or evil. Like, electric powers aren't necessarily something that is original, but the making a new character, making a new storyline, like that in itself is something to be commended for, because everybody else just kind of tries to. A hero game now is either tied to Avengers, tied to
Yeah.
Marvel, or tied to DC, tied to something, and you just don't see the originality anymore. And that's something that Infamous really should have gotten more attention for, because this was also before. I think Infamous came out before the huge Marvel rush, or
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Mhm. The first one,
just
yeah.
around there.
It did.
Mhm.
Because I can't coincide when the
If
first
you
Iron Man came out.
if you remember too, Infamous, the first Infamous was the game you got free when that big PS3 server fiasco happened way back in the
Yeah, I
day.
was a part of that. I remember
Yep.
that.
Yep. And that's when I actually played it. I don't know if you guys beat the original Infamous or not. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
did.
want. Okay. I don't want to, like, it's an old game, but like
Yeah.
the ending and who the villain was, I thought was really cool. It was a cool
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
I would say I'd be down for another, like, a newer Infamous, but I wasn't a fan of the last one that they did. And I don't even remember what it was called. But I
Second
remember
Son.
Second Son.
Second
Yeah.
Son. Yeah. I wasn't a huge fan, but the first two, they were something special back in the day.
Yeah. They
Yeah, two kind of. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that idea, like I was just gonna kind of go along with your point, Barry, as to that idea is often it's not often used in games as much as it should, but it's things that put games like Fable, or even going farther back than Fable, games like Black and White, or Black or White. I forget which one it was.
Yep.
I was a computer game for back in the day where you basically played like a god, and you could choose between being a good god or an evil god. You had like the one like floaty hand on the screen, and you could pick up villagers and throw them, or you could save everybody. It was your choice. That idea is great. And I don't know if
That game sounds so familiar to me for some reason. I might have
Yep.
played
Yeah.
that.
There's two of them.
It wouldn't run on my computer when it came out, so I didn't get to play it until like years later. But I
I'm
remember
absolutely
it.
going to look it up after this podcast, because
Definitely.
I'm pretty sure I've played that. I'm pretty sure I have.
It's a fantastic.
It was fun.
It was a fun game. You could perform miracles, throw fireballs and lightning, and build houses, and there was like other gods like in the mix, and you had like a little creature that you could raise, and it was either a lion or a horse, or it was really good.
Yeah, you know what? I absolutely remember this game.
Yeah.
Wow, what a throwback! You've kind of unlocked a childhood memory inside me in a way.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about that game.
It's a good concept, and it's not necessarily explored enough, and Infamous kind of brought it back in an amazing way. And Craig, I agree with you. Second Son necessarily wasn't their best work. But they shouldn't shy away from necessarily making that game a every 5 or 6 years mainstay, at least re-release, because that'll help get a new group into Infamous. You know, you got all these people with these new next gen consoles, doctor it up a little bit, make it look good for 2022, and just put it out. Or keep it close. You know,
Give it the Demon Souls treatment.
yes.
Yeah, I'd be cool with that.
That should be the template for everybody when they're trying to re-release something. By the way, is they should write down Demon Souls treatment. Like that should be what they try to do.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Or Master Chief Collection treatment.
Yeah,
I always think of that one too as a good remaster.
Yeah, that one was.
Yeah.
I don't want to include Mass Effect. I was trying to think of other good remasters that I can remember, but
Those are the two that stand out. Demon
for
Souls.
me, I guess Age of Empires for me.
Yeah.
Like
Age of Empires.
they tend to stick to the original in a way. I love those games.
True.
You
Yeah,
know,
I can't think of any else off
well,
the top of my head that like jump out.
making a prediction, Dead Space. I'm going to say Dead Space is going to
Yeah,
be up there. Just making a bold prediction in terms of
true.
remakes.
Yep.
Probably. And is Dead Space being still made by EA?
I think so.
All right, because that's a transition piece there. Another
Ooh.
smooth, not really smooth transition.
It
I'm not
was,
sure
and
if
then
you.
you mentioned smooth, so it lost the smoothness.
So
That's how you.
EA, and I'm
Uh
not
huh.
sure if you guys have heard of this thing going on around the internet where it's this quote, but like she is a 10 or he is a 10, but does this.
Yep.
EA got flamed for a tweet saying that she's a 10 but only plays single player games. And they got absolutely bullied online
Oh, I'll
for it.
bet.
It is it's just so funny to me that they whoever does their social media like they kind of had to like look at themselves afterward, and I just don't know how you press send on that. Like if you
Yeah.
have any awareness how people feel toward your company, especially considering everything that's gone on with EA and
Yeah.
how they're
Battlefield.
yeah, well, and
Yeah.
how they're pretty much like these cash grubbing company. You'd think like, and the one also game that does well for them in EA was like Fallen Order, like, and that
Mhm.
did tremendously well for them. So it's really funny to me how anybody goes and tweets that from a billion-dollar company and goes, yeah, this is a tweet I could send.
Yeah.
You think that guy got fired, or girl?
Hmm, it's a good
That's a
question.
good question.
I
I
don't think
doubt it.
so.
I
I
doubt
don't
it.
think so.
I feel like
Because
they
any
sent.
any publicity is good publicity. That's
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's they're
yeah,
going to be thinking about it. Is
and
they might have
it's
gotten
not like
bullied.
it's not a awful tweet. It's just in bad taste.
It
You know what
is
I
in
mean?
bad taste.
Like it's not like yeah, it's not like a oh my god. It's more of like a really that you thought that was a good joke,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah,
Like that's
didn't land that well.
no, and it's not like you're clever like Wendy's. Like if you've ever seen Wendy's tweets, they're on
Yep.
point and they're
Hmm.
tasteful. Like
Yeah,
they're not Wendy's.
they were trying to be,
They were
and it
trying to
didn't
be.
work out. Wendy should have came back and roasted them. That's what they should have done.
Yeah, that would have been great. That would have
I,
been
I do
great.
think there were some companies that went ahead and tweeted back at them. I just don't remember. I'm pretty sure Sony did, but I cannot remember what they clapped back with or something like that. So because Sony's the one that's kind of been known for the single player games. And
Yeah.
Xbox will eventually be coming up as well because you have games like Scorn and
Yes.
Plague
Yes.
Tale.
Yes. Scorn game of the year. I don't
Scorn's
have
been
any.
game of the
I
year.
don't have any smooth transitions. Craig, do you have any smooth transitions
I
to other
don't.
news stories?
I don't.
Dang
I
it.
mean, I have some very, very like small news. I just saw. I don't know why it made me excited, but PlayStation Lifestyle reported that Sony put an ad in, and I think the ad was for a software development engineer. So now there's talks because of that that ad being placed that they're working on trying to get the PS3 emulations better for PS5, and I got real giddy about that. I don't know. It struck a chord in a weird way because I got kind of excited that's them trying to make that better. Specifically because now the library is way open depending on what your PlayStation membership is, whether you're something higher than Essentials or still Essentials. So, Naughty Dog is also hiring. I love when Naughty Dog hires. Let's just keep
Yep.
putting people on Naughty Dog's team because they are awesome. So mine's more of a recruiter report. So I had no real transition because I'm basically
Okay.
Like if you're looking for jobs, go to Craig for the
yeah.
Yeah.
next latest job listings in gaming.
Yeah, I check LinkedIn
Yeah.
more
I
than I
wish.
check
I wish there
Facebook.
was a. I wish there was a clever pun on it that we could tie your name into Indeed somehow, and it could be your corner on new jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to really embrace the Craigslist until like people started being weird on Craigslist. I would like walk
Yep.
around and I'd say, "Oh, that's my list." Eggs, milk, that's my list.
You never got tired of people asking if that was your list, because I did, especially when it first came out. Oh, is that yours? Did you make that? No. Shut up.
No, shut up, shut up.
I wish I did. I got one. This one made me kind of angry. if we want to be angry at companies like EA, let's go after Ubisoft real quick.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Um, Suspending support on some of their older games soon,
Right.
including Assassin's Creed and others. But the big thing here with Assassin's Creed specifically that I saw was that you no longer will have access to the DLC that you purchased. And I think it's Assassin's Creed 1 and 2, maybe.
Oh,
Um, so I think, is this the first instance of something digital you bought not being able to access anymore? Because I know it's always been a big fear.
it
And I feel
has.
like this is one of the first big ones where you're like, oh, if you bought that DLC, I mean, you should have played it by now, but still, it's something you purchased and you can no longer access. I have a feeling they're going to change their stance on this somehow, because they're getting a lot of heat for it. But it's like, everybody's been yelling that since digital became popular. Oh, a day is going to come where you're not going to be able to access stuff you purchased. And here it is, finally, in a smaller amount. You can still play the game, you just can't play the DLC.
Yeah, that's strange
Yeah.
because I know it means a lot more for Assassin's Creed 1 than it would 2 because at least 2 you have the Ezio collection out.
Right.
Where
Oh,
1,
yeah.
I'm trying to really remember if did 1 have DLC?
I think it did.
Yeah. I
I know
can't honestly
most of them
remember.
had.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I didn't know if 1 came out before the DLC phase really came, but
Mm-hmm.
there really is no way to play 1 anymore. You would you kind of have to, go into the deep backlog and try to either stream it even if you can or anything like that. And but at least like with 2, you do have the Ezio collection out on all platforms that you can currently play on, even
Yep.
Switch. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think if, for example, if you're somebody who bought Assassin's Creed 2 at launch and then instead of buying a collection, you bought all the DLC, it still works on your system. You bought that, it's yours. They
Yeah.
shouldn't be able to take that away from you.
Yep.
But or if it's something where like they take the DLC off the page, I get that because if
Mm-hmm.
no one's buying it, you don't need to be taking up the page there. But if you bought the DLC, I really don't know how they could take it away from you
No.
unless it's some
Yeah.
sort of server-based content.
Which is, I think that's what they're saying. It's server based, and they don't want to pay to have the servers anymore.
Mm.
But yeah, you're running into, I don't know if it would potentially some sort of legal issue. I'm assuming some people who probably wouldn't have played it anyway will still probably try and sue somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting idea to be able to be like, yeah, we don't want to have a server running, paying for this to run for this DLC that 2 people are playing. I get that, but still, you have to give people a right to access what they paid for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why can't you just
Yeah, I agree
locate the
with
2
that.
people and just
Yeah.
compensate them for the
Yeah.
DLC that
With
they
the
can
Ezio
actually just have
collection or
on their
something.
console? Yeah, just get them.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people really is this devastating? If it's
Right.
if it's
I
10
saw
Like it,
mil.
Yeah. I saw it was mentioned as a potential solution is like just unlock that DLC for everybody, right? Like then some sort of way where you don't have to have it behind a paywall on a server. Just make it free for everybody, and then you don't have to worry about it,
Mhm.
But I don't know how they do that. But that was, an idea that was floated out there to them.
yeah, one thing I'll say is this definitely affects more than just like 2 people because I know like most gamers probably in the United States aren't really the ones that are playing Assassin's Creed 2 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But as somebody who's given his, cousin from Costa Rica older consoles, he plays the older games because that's all he can get his hands on because
Yeah.
all the other games are far too expensive or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see it affecting a lot more, and I can see where Ubisoft is probably like, oh, well, our international crowd, they don't matter, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
But, Assassin's Creed 2 and 1, and I know we're using those primarily as the heavy example here, this is a very, like, finite example that we're using there. There are so many other games that this is going to affect.
Yeah.
And fans of the series could definitely be angry at it. I don't agree with taking any type of content somebody pays for away. It's a lot it's got a lot to do with like the ROM stuff as well, where if you owned the game physically, you can download a ROM legally as a backup in case that game is hard to get. Where that it's really weird to like buy a DLC and then the company themselves take it away,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that, yeah, yeah, it just doesn't sound right. And I hope
So
Ubisoft does something. Just send everybody a flash drive with the DLC they bought.
Yeah.
It's downloaded onto the
yeah.
console.
So I mean, just to clarify, because PC Gamer is the one who kind of broke this story.
Yeah,
As of September 1st, they have like the important ones here are Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed 3 multiplayer, linking
that
accounts,
makes
online
sense.
features, access to DLC. So 2, 3, Brotherhood, Liberation, all are losing access to DLC on September 1st. The other ones here, Driver San Francisco, DLC's gone. Far Cry 3, DLC will be gone on September 1st.
Oh.
Prince of Persia, The Forgotten Sands, all the DLC's gone. And then multiplayer will be gone on Splinter Cell Blacklist. And I know, Barry,
Okay.
you and I played that not that long ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean, there's probably not that many people playing that, but the fact that Far Cry 3, Assassin's Creed 2, 3, Brotherhood, and Liberations are all losing their DLC access, that's kind of a big deal. And they do say at the bottom here that it'll still be available for the Ezio collection. So they're kind of being like, just buy the Ezio collection then,
Yeah.
is their answer. But that's a lot of Assassin's Creeds, and I
That
think
is.
Far Cry 3, there's got to be people still playing that too.
Oh
I
yeah.
would think.
Yeah, that's
That's
definitely a
arguably the
beloved
best
one
Far
by
Cry.
far.
That's arguably the best Far
Yep.
Cry. Like,
Far Cry 3 had
Yeah.
Blood Dragon, I think, was the DLC, which was very
Yeah.
good. So yeah, that's a little ridiculous. So September 1st is when all that ends.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get out of the negative Nancy news and let's try to get into some positive Nintendo Direct news instead. It, did you guys watch the Nintendo Direct? I imagine you both did, or at least have anything like that.
I did.
Okay. So
Nope.
Craig too did. Do you have a favorite announcement? And if so, what was it?
Let me look it up too.
Yes. I told you before this podcast started that I went from a non-pre-order person to a pre-order person. I have 5 pending pre-orders right now. And the 5th
Stop it.
one actually came
The
with the
pre-order pandemic.
pre-order pandemic, a little P and a P there. I the 5th
Beep,
pre-order for me became the Mario Rabbids new one after that date got announced. So the fact that a date was announced, and what made me laugh when I was watching the direct is last week I was talking to you guys about how hilarious October is with game releases. And then
Mhm.
Nintendo Direct Mini comes, and then they're just like, "Oh, here's another game, October 20th, Mario and Rabbids Spark of Hope. Go ahead, go try to play all of them." Now, so that was my favorite. A close second, and it's kind of funny because I believe we touched on this, but it wasn't really necessarily my cup of tea, is I got excited for everybody being able to play Persona 5 or Personas on the Switch. Like that ending and like how they introduced it, and they had Morgana just being Morgana on the screen and such like that. I got happy. Like I'll still be playing the Personas on Xbox when they get released. Well, -5 because I've played 5 way too much, and Royal. But I was kind of happy that you could actually be mobile with a game like that, because how are you supposed to finish 100-hour games when you can't be mobile with it? So
Yeah.
that was nice for me. But like, what was your favorite, Barry?
So my surprise favorite, because I didn't think they were going to announce it, the Mega Man Battle Network
Oh
collection.
yes.
They are bringing back all of those games. It's going to be a two-parter, which I don't think was necessarily said in it. So they're bringing out part 1, which is the first 4, and then I think part 2 is then I think 4 others or something like that, or 2 versions of the same one. I am just super excited. I
Yeah.
loved the Battle Network series, and I remember playing it on my DS, playing it on my Game Boy Advance,
Mm-hmm.
especially. And that was just like this huge surprise to me. I considered like the Battle Network series a really niche series, but to hear that they're going to at least put the time to port it to Switch is awesome. I'm so excited. It's just too bad we have to wait till 2023 for it.
Yeah.
And hopefully all those games run well. I'm pretty sure it will, but that was like the thing that's by far surprised me the most because it was something I had no clue was going to happen,
Yeah.
and something that's like, wow, I didn't know I needed it. Because I haven't thought about the Battle Network series in such a long time. But to see it and for them to do it, that makes me excited enough for it. So that's another pre-order for me.
Yeah.
And one strange thing, I guess, was we saw like a weird amount of like simulator farming type games,
I know.
and
A
to
lot. Like,
to see stuff it just Harvest Stella being made
yeah.
by Square Enix is a
Yeah.
farming game
Yeah.
with fighting stuff
It's
to
a
it, and then
Dude,
fighting
that
there's all
sounds
those
farming.
great.
adjacent
It
stuff.
does.
Harvest Stella, I'm gonna buy.
Yeah, it didn't look
I'm not
that
a
bad.
farming simulator guy, but I'm gonna buy Harvest
Yeah.
Stella. And you also have announcements like Bomberman R2,
Yeah.
another Story of Seasons, Little Noah, Scion of Paradise.
That looks
We have Nier
interesting.
Automata
Yes, on the
getting
I
announced
saw
Switch.
as
Near.
well.
Yeah.
Oh, Barry, did I tell you I recently
Hmm.
downloaded
And
that soundtrack, by the way? I played that earlier today,
for
like
what?
the Nier Automata soundtrack. Like,
Good
Good
because I
soundtrack.
saw
soundtrack.
it in
Nier
the
games are always.
direct. Yeah.
I use the Nier Automata and the Nier Replicant for like our D&D times. Like I'll go ahead and play music in the background. That's usually what I play.
That's fantastic.
So it's usually a safe choice. We also, that's right, Dragon Quest Treasures was also a very weird one. It's like this Pokemon type game where you like capture monsters,
Yeah.
train them, use them in battle, and you're collecting treasure as well. It seems like a really weird game. This was all really third party focused, but definitely for me, I'm excited to see the Persona series. I think you guys will have a lot of fun with 4 if you try 4 Golden.
I can't wait.
Persona 3 is definitely not as popular. 4 and 5 tend to be the two best ones regarded in a way. And other than that, it was a good third party one. I'm excited for Mario and Rabbids Spark of Hope as well.
Yeah.
Just another turn-based game I liked. I do like the twist in it. I don't care much for the Rabbids portion of things, but the combat was always really well done in the Mario and Rabbids series. And
Yeah.
that's that type of game where it'll probably sell really well, and then the following year it's going to go down to $20 for like Black Friday, because even to this day you still
Yep.
see Mario versus Rabbids on shelves for $20 as like
Yeah.
a starter Switch game.
Isn't it funny though that they do that, but then any other time it'll still be $50.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like the
Then it'll
the
just
Yeah.
randomly
Rabbids.
go on sale for it'll go on sale for like $5 and then it'll go back up to 50 for 6 months.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
it is. I absolutely agree.
Did you see the other weird game? Because I was like doing notes from the direct.
The train simulator?
Oh no, but no, not the train simulator. Basically, the game that's the Fox and the Hound. If you remember that Disney movie, it's called Blanc.
I am yes, and I'm interested in that. It looks like it's going to be one of those like really stupid emotional stories that I get way too much into.
Yeah,
It automatically gave me feels of like Fox and the Hound, that Disney movie.
yeah,
Yep.
That's the feel I get from that game, and if it amounts to any sort of emotional strings that are tied to that, it'll probably be a pretty like powerful game
yeah. Because like
in
even when the
like
even when
the
the
feels department.
yeah, because like even when the trailer for it started, they were like a fawn and a wolf cub, and I was like, wait, do you mean like a fox and a hound? Because like this is what this is
They
sounding
can't
like.
say that.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, I know these are two totally different animals, but you're telling me that two animals have to survive in the wilderness by themselves and have to become best friends, even though they're unlikely animals to become best friends. This sounds like the Fox and the Hound. But like, go ahead, make the game. It looks very pretty. Like, I'm intrigued.
I can't wait for Disney to cease and desist us
Yeah,
for just even mentioning one of their movies.
yeah.
Do you think it's gonna I like the art style. Do you think it's gonna control like brothers? Like twin stick, one stick is each character?
I
They-
think so. I also think it's going to be a very popular game with couch co-op. I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
You
we
can do
really
both.
haven't gotten a lot of really popular couch co-op games other than, Game of the Year last year, which
It Takes Two.
It Takes Two. Thank you. I
Takes
don't know
Two.
why I blanked.
Yep.
Like that game was definitely meant for co-op. I feel like this game will be a good co-op game as well.
Yeah.
and I just want to see a little bit more of it, maybe a little bit more of the gameplay and the stuff you'll be doing for it, because I really love the art style, but is it what's it gonna be like decision wise or puzzle wise? Because it seems to be more of like a exploration type game, but I
Yeah,
really don't know how you're gonna tide people over, other than the fact that your story is probably gonna have to be really good. There
it
has
looks
to be some
like
sort of puzzle things.
exactly. No, you're right. It looks like basically kind of like a puzzle, maybe dumbed down. It Takes Two, where like It Takes Two,
Yeah.
like your partner's holding one thing, like while the other partner's shooting at the target, so that both of you can get through, or that one of you can get through. It kind of maybe looks like that. Like one animal holds a rock while the other animal, slips under the rock. Something maybe a little bit more simplified. Um, what was your take? Because I know mine. What was your take on the Sonic Frontiers? Like just the entirety of what they showed
I'm
there.
glad that I'm glad they cleared it up as an open zone game. So all we've really been seeing is the first area for the first zone, pretty much, or like the first, I should say, area, and then the zones are consequentially in that area.
Yeah.
I want to have hope for Sonic games because, as I've mentioned before, this is a crucial moment for the Sonic team and what they can accomplish here, riding off the success of what the Sonic movies have been. So it I am optimistic about it. I feel like they have to take some sort of user input on this stuff, because if they don't and make it a bad game, people aren't going to buy it. So I can only hope that it meets like people's expectations. I'm optimistic, even though like those games tend to overwhelm me, like much like Breath of the Wild did, where it's this huge like portion of land and I'm just this small little being meant to explore it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why like Breath of the Wild took me so long to finish. Where because it's an open zone, I'm hoping it's going to be a smaller and more contained type. And because Sonic's whole thing is going fast, maybe getting through the map isn't going to be as cumbersome
Okay.
as one would think. As long as like the puzzles are fun, combat's really fast and snappy. Because the best combat for Sonic was never these drawn out like combat sessions. When you're running through the level, you sometimes have to go into an enemy and you would, spin dash one person into the next, into the next, into the next, and then keep running around. That's what
Mm-hmm.
they need to keep doing,
Yep.
because that was what combat was in those games.
Yeah.
And then during the boss battles, having some sort of mechanic. I know that the Sonic games are usually meant for kids. They should probably try to keep it that way and keep it simple,
Yeah.
where keep it fast, keep it snappy, and puzzle wise, try not to make anything too I don't know, outrageous, I guess. They just have to focus on, other than that, making the game run well and making it make sense, I
Yeah.
guess, cuz that's what I worry about with all of the pop-ins of rails in the air and that kind of thing is always kind of worrying with like, okay, like there's just this random rail in the air and I don't know where it leads to or how to get there. Like I could see that's where frustration could lead with this game.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
also go ahead.
I don't know. I have no hope for that game. So like I'll try it, but like who knows? It just looks like a walking disaster to me.
I'm pretty skeptical about the game too. They need to do
Yeah.
something with the enemies that they've shown, because there was no personality in whatever Sonic was fighting in that footage. And I know you're working with what you can do visually on the Switch. They just try to do your best with it. Like just I don't know if I'm I don't know why I'm talking directly to the developers now, but just try to do your best with it. Like Sonic needs to be revitalized. Sonic, it was a big part of a crap ton of people's childhoods, and I can't think of a franchise that has gotten it more wrong than right in like the last at least decade or so. Like they just had so many busts, and this could be the one that helps it revitalize itself, instead of us having to go and play like the games, like find a Sega emulator or something like that just to play the ones like from back in the day that
Yeah, Sonic Generations is probably what a lot of people would go to. That was kind of the last.
Yep.
critically acclaimed game because it brought it back to its roots.
Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
But I don't have any other news. How about you guys?
Nope.
No, I'm good. Direct was nice, very refreshing. I wish there was something, a video game announcement like that or some event like that every week because it's like mini Super Bowls. But other than that, no news for me.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into games this week where I'm going to go with a lot of us are probably trying new stuff or tackling our backlogs.
Yep.
For
Yeah.
me, I'm trying out Wild Arms on Craig's
Yes.
recommendation.
Okay.
And what have you guys played?
So I took it upon myself to play the new release MX versus ATV Legends since,
Okay.
highly anticipated. And I also tried the Capcom Fighting Collection that just came out. But besides those two, believe it or not, I am still banging my head against the wall in Demon Souls.
Oh, okay.
I'm still going. I haven't given up. Look at that. It's been like 2 weeks.
I'm proud of you.
You've passed the Tower Knight at least?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's
But
a soft
I'll get
progress.
into it later, but like I believe I am hard stuck right now. But
Oh
Okay.
boy.
you get to that point where you're like, do I keep playing this game? But anyway,
Yeah.
how about you, Craig? What have you been playing?
Not quantity, but I guess quality in terms of how many. Because usually I could name like two or three, but I did the second Shadowrun in the Shadowrun series. So I talked about Returns. Now I'm in Dragonfall, which is drastically different from Returns, and I'll talk about that. And Craig, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but my wife and I finished the Quarry. We were just we
Hey.
were chugging away
Okay.
at it, only playing it together kind of thing, and we finally finished it. So we could talk about that if you'd like as well.
Okay. Cool.
But those are the two games I
Barry,
was.
give me that Wild Arms, please.
Go ahead,
So
drop that
Wild
beat.
Arms, I first of all, I'm
Did you get
about
done
like
with the
maybe
intro?
2 hours. Yeah, I'm about
Okay,
two
cool.
hours
Okay.
into it.
Okay.
So I'm through the intro now. I do like the game so far. There are a couple nitpicks I have. I think the music is really good.
Yeah.
I really like the combat music. I really like the characters and what they have because it's so strange to have like a turn-based RPG where it's kind of centered around like a Wild West territory.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like learning about each of these characters so far. That anime opening is very strange.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like a fever dream.
Yep.
But uh I like this so much better than Chrono Trigger just because like this combat and how like the zones inside like Chrono Trigger had these zones that I just did not want to understand or bother to, where
Mm-hmm.
this one has more of like a force and that kind of thing that you kind of build up, level up, and then more critical attacks happen. And really, some of the only bad things I have about it is I hate the text. It is impossible to read.
It's a
Uh,
weird
it,
font.
Times New Roman was invented back then. Just make everything
It's
Times New Roman. I get that they're going for an aesthetic, but there's a
Right.
reason English teachers drilled Times New Roman into our heads for reports.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason not everybody writes in wingdings, and it's
Mhm.
because you can't read it. And it might just be my eyes, but I have such a hard problem
Really?
reading the text that's on the screen.
I've never
It
had that problem, but I'm gonna have to analyze it now and see if it does look bad. Maybe I'm just so used to it.
maybe like for me it is just like it is very hard to like get through, and I don't know, I can read it. Like I'm a man that can read. I
I'm a man.
finished English and reading class,
Okay.
but it's just
You're a
the
man of multiple
font.
languages, Barry.
We believe you,
Yes,
Barry.
Mhm.
it's just that the font irks me so much. It should be easier to read, but for whatever reason it's not. So I don't stick with retro games very often. I might stick with this one.
Yes.
And I'm going to continue to play it and see, just cuz the story kind of gets me, and for me the combat is fun, and that's what majority of these games are, is combat has to be fun. I do know that these games like came out a lot, and I mean a lot earlier for me, so my sense of direction, like I'm used to games having to hold my hand,
Yeah,
where
there is none.
I did spend about 10 minutes finding Berry Cave, and
Yep.
that that was kind of rough for me, but I'm trying to break out of that mold to where I'm hoping I can find my way and get through the text long enough to read where I'm going next if
Yeah.
I can. So, other than that, Craig's recommendation was a good one. I like Wild Arms so far. I've a part of me wishes there was some sort of remaster that didn't
Yeah.
have this terrible text or looked a little bit better, but it's I like the transition. I can't say enough. I love the music. I was really surprised by the music choices that they went. The battle theme goes really hard.
It does.
So the
It does.
It does.
Wild Arms surprisingly well received by me. It's nice because like you guys and like specifically you, Craig, have that knowledge of like the retro games. Where for me, the oldest I've ever gone is Ocarina of Time. That's like the first game I can ever remember in my little childhood brain. So
Mm.
going back and like playing these other games, I'm like learning and discovering what games were like more back then. It's almost like I'm trying to appreciate them for what they are and what they were back then.
You know what's crazy is my whole life I've always wanted a remaster of this game, and it's always in the back of my mind. I'm like, I don't really think that there's like a huge group of people who played this game on PlayStation, but they did make 4 of these. There are
Yeah.
4 Wild Arms. So
Oh,
like
wow.
I don't know if it was probably maybe more over in Japan that this was more popular. And I do agree with you that like it does not hold your hand as far as telling you where to go. The good thing is when you start going to different areas, each area will be like, here's one town, here's like a cave or something that you're supposed to go to, or like a maze or something, and then that's it. So it's not like
Mm,
you can get lost, but there are those times where you'll get like you'll go to a town and there'll be one specific person that you need to talk to get a specific item, but you have to find them. You have to literally talk to like every person in the town, or you may be going somewhere and being like, oh, there's this door here that I can't open. Where is it? You have to go talk to this random dude in the pub in this town and he'll give you the key. And they're not
yeah.
going to tell you that. It's kind of, like early Demon Souls here, where they're like, yeah, go figure it
Yeah.
out on your own.
Yeah.
Um,
Use your brain.
but yeah, I think it's a great, great game. Listen to this. It's a banger.
it goes
Oh wow,
it goes hard.
that's like club worthy, man.
Yep. We won't get strict for that, I don't think. But anyway, I'm glad you like it. Hopefully you stick with it. I think isn't the second one on PlayStation Plus as well?
I think there's three of them on PlayStation Plus.
Okay.
If I'm being,
Okay.
I know the third is there, which is why I texted you. Which one am I supposed to play?
Yeah.
So
The ones that aren't on there, good luck trying to find them, because if you do find them, you're gonna have to pay an insane amount of money because they're usually super expensive. But
Oh wow.
I'm glad at least the first one's on there so everybody can experience it. It's not gonna be for everybody, but I'm glad you like it.
yeah, I do.
Um, Let me get okay. So MX versus ATV Legends that came out this week. That's a thing that happened. I don't know if you guys ever played any of the MX versus ATV games on like PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. They were okay. Like I didn't mind them. They were like a low rent Tony Hawk, right?
Okay.
On dirt bikes. This one's trash, so you can go ahead and skip it. We're just gonna leave it at that. It's terrible. I don't have anything to say about it. It's bad. It looks bad. It controls bad. It doesn't feel good. The music sucks. Yeah, I don't have any redeeming qualities about it. And
Jeez, harsh critic.
it's bad. Capcom Fighting Collection is actually kind of cool if you're into like the old style arcade games. There's Darkstalkers on there. There's another version of Street Fighter 2. Like we don't already have 10 bazillion versions of
Seriously.
that on every console ever. But there's a lot of games on here that I've never played that I think were probably in the Japan, like the arcades in Japan, which are actually kind of fun. I think this is actually pretty cool. If you could get this game for like 20 or $30, I think it's pretty solid if you're into fighting games. I'm not brave enough to play them online because I know I'll get just absolutely worked. But playing them offline against the computer has been kind of fun. Reminds me of my childhood. So yeah, that one I do recommend. Capcom Fighting Collection. I think it's pretty cool.
Okay.
I did want to say, like, I
Yeah.
remember the ATV games just solely because when we used to play that when I was younger, you
Mhm.
would go out of bounds and it would just fly your
Yeah, it would
character
fling
across
you.
the map.
Yep.
Yeah, that
Yep.
that's the only reason I remember having any fun in those games because we never played it for the dirt bike or ATV reasons. It was just to get flung. So
I I think part of it is when those first couple ones came out, at least in my mind, because I was so heavy into skateboarding at that time, and it had a huge presence in X Games, like the moto style, like that became huge all of a sudden. I think I was like, oh, this is actually kind of cool to watch. Let me try it. And I'm not like, I've never owned a dirt bike, but like I always thought the games were entertaining. So I always give them a shot, but like I haven't seen a good MX versus ATV game since like 2004. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who are like, yeah, give me another MX versus ATV game, but it's got to be like, I don't know, a couple thousand people maybe, if that. I don't know. I don't know who's buying this game that
I
they
don't,
just keep cranking them out.
I don't know. I don't know who's buying this game.
Um, I got to give you my Demon Souls update. Let me give you
Please,
my
yes,
weekly Demon Souls
yes,
update.
please.
Okay.
Yes.
So I beat the first boss. We knew that,
Yeah.
right? The blobs.
yep,
I beat the second boss, which was the knight.
Yes.
Figured that out on my own. I just kind of rolled around and stabbed him in the feet.
Yep.
What was the third boss? Oh, that was a spider. I was stuck on
okay,
the spider for a couple days until I figured out I could hide behind a pillar and cheese him to death with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
So I did
very
that.
nice,
Yes. Well
very
Um,
done.
nice.
Well done.
That's how you
okay.
do it.
That
You
is how
gotta
you do it.
cheese.
Yeah. Right.
That is
So,
honestly.
okay. So a couple more of my frustrations after I figured that out, because I was getting super frustrated with that spider. I was like, I can't figure this out. I keep dying. Maybe I built the wrong class, but it's too late at this point to go back and start over because I'm hours and hours in. I think I'm
Yeah.
like soul level 30 something ish,
Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
right around there. Okay. And I did the barbarian, which is now when I read up, I'm like, oh, that's a horrible choice, but whatever. So I did that. And then I went on to the next one, which is he's made of fire. What's his name?
Oh.
Do you remember? He's like a demon and he's made of fire.
Oh, what's his name?
I don't know. I forget his name. But anyway, I went to that next level and I was like, okay, I got through that level, no problem, right? I can cruise through that level. I'm killing the enemies in like 1 or 2 hits. I feel like I'm doing good. And I get to him and I die like 7, 8, 10 times.
Oh,
We
And I'm
talking
like,
about Flame Lurker? Is that the fire
yes.
yes,
thing?
That.
That
yeah,
Thank
Flame
you,
Lurker. Okay.
Barry. All right.
right. Flame lurker, right? So I die like 10 times to him, and I'm like, okay, I need to rethink my strategy, right? Like you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So the first thing I do is like, let me look this up and let me see what the right strategy is. So I look it up and they're like, all right, you got to be able to dodge around him. You can't just sit there because up to this point, I've taken the approach of a big ass shield and I'm just deflecting
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
stabbing. Easy. So I get there and they're like, you can't do that with this guy. You got to roll around him. So then I spend the next day, right? Like, why is my character so slow when they're rolling? I don't understand.
Wait.
Yeah.
Your
So then I
weight.
looked
Yeah.
it up and I'm like, oh, you
You're
you have
fat
your
rolling.
weight has to be under 50%.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool, didn't know that. So I do that. And I'm like, okay. I go under 50%. I take off those big heavy armor. I'm wearing like robes now. Perfect. I get
Yeah.
the small shield instead of the big clunky one.
Yeah.
I'm rolling around like a fool. Still can't beat him. So then I go down the hole of, all right, there's got to be a way to cheese this guy. There has to be. So I look up this cheese method with poison gas cloud, right? I'm like, okay, how do I get the poison gas cloud? So then I go down the rabbit hole of, well, you got to go to this prison level and get
Yep.
this guy out of prison.
Mhm.
I do that. And they're like, okay, he's back at the Nexus. I go to him, can't buy the poison cloud because I got to go beat this other guy on this other level, which I forget what level it is. I'm on that level, can't even get to the boss. So I'm just like, I feel like I'm hard stuck at this point. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't feel like I'm strong enough for this level to get the poison cloud. I definitely don't feel like I'm strong enough to kill the flame demon dude. And at this point, I'm like, I don't even know what to do. Do I just keep the one level after you beat the knight, right? Like my cheese method is spawn into there and go kill like the blue demons that are
Yeah,
like right there
right there,
and
and then
get
get
Mhm.
out.
souls.
Yeah,
I'm
and
like,
then
let me,
get out.
yeah,
Yeah,
and go in and out a
yeah,
million times and rack up souls. I've been doing that forever. I still don't feel like I'm strong enough at this point because I feel like my dodge game is not good enough, and I don't think it's gonna be. I tried summoning somebody to help, and they didn't help. Uh, they just kind of left,
they
and I was
just
like, "Oh,
left.
okay, perfect." I don't know. I am enjoying it, which is good, but I just feel like I am hard stuck at this point, right? Like I have no idea what to do. I poked around the jail level. I poked around this other level that I'm supposed to go to. I've gone to each of these levels that are available,
Yeah,
and I'll go into one and be like, "Oh no, I'm not supposed to be here yet because I'm just getting wrecked." So let me go poke around these levels, and I don't, at this point I'm like, I don't even know what to do anymore. I don't know what the right method is, and it is kind of frustrating. I even went and bought Demon Souls Remastered because it's on sale.
Yeah.
And I tried that and I was like, oh God, this is awful. It looks like crap.
mm,
Yeah.
And I don't want to play this game at all. But yeah, I tried Bloodborne. The 30 frames per second is god awful.
Yeah,
It's
that game,
terrible.
yeah, that is really what holds it back.
that is really the thing that holds it back.
I feel like I'm just at the point where I'm like, I want to play Demon Souls because it looks so nice, but I feel like I have nowhere else to go at this point. I don't know what to do anymore. And I've even been like, I'm sitting there in bed at night at like midnight trying to look up YouTube videos
Yeah,
on strategies, like the true Demon Souls player, and it's just not helping at this point. I don't know. I need help.
You just gotta text me and we can help. But
Hmm.
one thing I'll say is with that Demon Soul remake is there is an order, much
Hmm.
like how Mega Man is, that you should be taking on these bosses.
yeah, there is.
Right.
I'm pretty sure, like if you're at Flame Lurker, you probably should have beat Leechmonger by now.
Which
I'm
one's
not
that?
sure if
Think
it's a gigantic leech monster.
Nope.
You'd
you
know
Haven't
it.
would
seen
you
him.
would know if
Haven't
you
seen him.
saw
Okay.
it. It's pretty disgusting. Yeah,
I got the idea that I'm supposed to like try out these other levels. Um,
There's specifically an order to
yeah.
but they
kind of
don't
go
tell you.
through.
No,
Exactly.
no,
That
like
you
you
have to
got to
go
look it
online
up.
for it.
Yeah,
Okay. And I think that's the one that I looked up, and they're like, you have to beat Leechmonger to get the poison cloud, I think.
Probably.
And I was like, let me do that level. And that's the level I've been doing for the past 2 days. And it's a whole lot of like very narrow walkways.
That
yeah,
area is hard.
And
I will
there's
say. Yeah.
like I can one shot those. I don't know if they're like ogres or whatever. No problem. But then there's the big ogres, the big
Yeah.
guys with clubs,
yeah.
and they just wreck me because there's no room to roll around. It's too narrow. I don't. My magic is okay, but I don't think it's strong enough. So maybe I
I
go
tend to
back
run
and
away.
Yeah,
I tend
okay,
to run away from them because like most monsters I will say are pretty stupid in that game.
they
right.
If
are.
you get them to an area, if you get them to an area where you can run around them,
Hmm.
just have them follow you, run around them, and then run the other way.
Yeah,
I know there are a couple times with those kind of bigger guys where I've done that instead of facing them because
right.
you're right. Like it's very tight corridors in there,
Hmm.
and even like most go to for people playing Demon Souls or any Souls game is instead of rolling backward, rolling toward.
Yeah,
But those
Hmm.
things still hit you even when you're rolling toward them.
Right,
So
right.
it it's not just you, like you're hitting that kind of wall that I think almost every Souls players hit, like new or a veteran to the series. You hit that wall and kind of don't know where to go, so you end up grinding,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
and it ends up becoming more of a chore than having fun.
yeah.
And
Because
you
I've
beat the
been having fun. You know.
yeah,
Yeah,
It's just those
the
parts where you just
the
kind of get
winning
stuck.
of it all
Yeah,
yeah. And maybe
is
that's
where
because I don't have because I'm playing it so late. I don't have like other people are like, oh, let me join you real quick and we'll get you through it. Instead, I'm just trying to like bang my head at it by myself. I don't know, like, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I want to beat it by myself, you know? Like I want to do it so I can say I did it. Um, I don't know,
well you
like
just
at this
I was gonna
point,
say you just have to have somebody help you. Like
yeah,
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 even if I were to come in and show you how to beat the boss, then you would have an idea. Because I'll admit, like the online guides aren't like one strategy works for one person that isn't gonna work for another.
exactly.
right.
And like with Flame Lurker, I kind of cheesed him in a way where there are like these bone type structures where
Mm-hmm.
he can't charge you.
Right.
So if you get there and kind of lead him in there, he'll walk into it for a little bit before realizing. And for me, I was able to use arrows,
Mm-hmm.
so I'd get a few arrows at him, and then when he figured out like, hey, I can't do this, he would like come the other way and come at me. I just run over to the other side,
Yeah.
and then get him stuck again, and then do the same thing over again. Like
So
there are ways to cheese it still.
So the question I have then is, like, obviously, right? I bought Demon Souls Remastered. I didn't realize I actually owned Demon Souls for Xbox 360, but anyway, I bought Demon Souls Remastered. I'm like, this looks terrible. I don't consider this a remaster because it looks terrible. But Demon Souls 2 and 3 are on sale right now for Xbox, right?
So Dark Souls 2
Dark
and 3.
Yeah,
Souls.
Dark Souls, sorry. Yeah. So I looked at those and I was like, do I even bother trying those, or am I going to be in the same boat where I'm like, these are, kind of old at this point and haven't aged well. I was even in the middle of Walmart yesterday staring at Elden Ring at this point, and I'm like, do I go back in and try Elden Ring again? Because I tried it for like an hour and I was like, nope. But now that I'm figuring it out, like, do I spend the $50 and try to get into Elden Ring at this point and just say I don't want to give up on Demon Souls? I feel like I can get past it, but man, I don't know. Like, maybe Dark Souls 2 and 3 might not be a good idea either then.
You know what it is, Craig? You know when you watch like Interview with a Vampire and there's like Lestat's character. I don't know if you guys ever saw that movie, but it's basically
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cruise character talking to Brad Pitt's character about becoming a vampire. It's like
Yeah.
him helping him become a vampire. You've gotten bit by the soul's bug and you're
Right.
transitioning into what may be or not may not be a Souls player, but we all go through the same thing with our first Souls game. You like because like as you're explaining it, you keep jumping back to the same thing. You're like, I'm going to beat it, or like, I want to give it a shot,
Yeah.
or that's the
Yep.
verbiage that keeps coming out. That's how I was with Bloodborne. I was like, you know what, this game is really making me mad. I'm at a stopping point,
Yeah.
and I hate this game, but I also don't want to give up. Like,
Yep.
and it's interesting to just kind of see you in that transitional mode. For you to be in Walmart thinking about Elden Ring after
Yep.
giving Souls the shot that you've already given it, I think is a very funny step in a
Yeah.
Souls
Yeah.
person direction or a Souls journey. Not that Souls journey, but the Souls game, Souls player journey. You know,
Yeah.
that's just
I just
striking.
feel like at this point I'm just like, I should probably beat Demon Souls before I decide to put money into an Elden Ring.
Or one of us
Yeah,
can loan
I
you
will say
Elden Ring.
Yeah,
You can
true.
borrow my copy.
out of like I think the most accessible, I do think Dark Souls 3 would probably be the most accessible
It is
Hmm.
to
definitely.
you. But I would say like try and stick with Demon Souls if you
Yeah.
can. I do feel like Demon Souls like it didn't Demon Souls is pretty bundled down to where it's not too complicated, where Dark Souls, the Dark Souls series and especially 3 has a lot more to do with excuse me, have to do with these open areas and revisiting and running back and forth. And like
Hmm.
I specifically remember especially like in Dark Souls 2 where you're put in this like center of the map and they kind of just leave you to your devices in an Elden Ring way. But
Hmm.
if you don't know where to go, like you're going into caves that beat you up in one shot. And you really don't get that in Demon Souls too much. Like even like Storm's Path, I think is called, which is the one where like lightning strikes the
Yeah.
tree and those
Yep.
skeletons roll
I went
after
in
you.
there. That was a bad idea.
So it is a little bit harder, but like all
Yep.
you need to do is have a shield that combats 100% physical, and then
Right.
those rolls do nothing to you. It's the very like small things that end up making the bigger difference in Demon Souls, where Dark Souls games I feel like are so much more technically
Yeah,
like advanced and throw harder enemies at you more
Mhm.
randomly
but
than
focus
Demon
on
Souls does.
blocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, where like Dark Souls 3 isn't that kind of game. It is definitely one of the the best. Like it's for me personally, it's Bloodborne is my favorite, then probably Dark Souls 3 and then Demon Souls.
Okay.
I'm leaving Elden Ring out of that ranking because I'm going to be honest. I played it for a while and still haven't finished it to this day. So until I finish it, I probably won't give it an actual score. So
Yeah.
just like most games that came out during the Elden Ring time, I'm busy.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm like, well, my problem is these games look so old at this point, and Elden Ring obviously looks good, but I do have that hesitancy where it's like they're gonna be like, here's this open world, go figure it out. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I really like Demon Souls being like, here's your levels, go beat them. And I enjoy the get somewhere through this level, and then you just found a shortcut to open up to make your path that much easier every time you die. Like, I like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, Elden Ring is just kind of like that whole open world thing just really pushes me towards not wanting to play it.
But in contrast,
Can we get a
Understandable.
Bloodborne remaster, please?
please,
People have been clamoring for it, and I think we will get it one day.
I really
Yeah.
cannot wait for that. I can't.
But yeah, that was sorry. We got way off the rails with that
No, we're
one.
good.
Yeah, we're just trying to help you.
Yeah.
But you guys should talk about the Quarry.
Yeah. All right. Give me the Quarry. Go. I'm ready.
So we managed to finish with the majority of the counselors. I think we lost like maybe two people, like two of the good
I lost a
guys
bunch.
overall. One definitely got maimed. Is that the correct word? When you lose, yeah, that's when you like lose a major limb. Yeah, one got maimed.
Yep.
But survived.
Did you cut it off?
Yeah.
Did you cut it off?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Me too.
I like the take on the main bad or the main monster in the game, but I found myself just not liking it as much as Until Dawn. But I like the Quarry. I like it.
Mhm.
But like, let me put it this way. I'm like 34, and I'm not like 34. I am 34. And we started the reason why it took us so long to beat this is we kind of tried to start the game late when the like sun's like down, like, so not like 8:30, like at least 9:30, and sometimes we would even start it at 11:30. There were certain times in this game where I was nodding out because the amount of time between conflict and exploration could sometimes be 30 or 40 minutes, and that's what Until Dawn didn't feel like for me. It felt like a roller coaster ride, but like the roller coaster was going up and down and you had the rush of adrenaline. You never felt safe. In this game, they didn't even really it was you run for a minute, a couple of very easy quick time events, and then your character's safe now. And then let's go on to the next character.
Anime level of dialogue at points.
Yes.
Right?
Oh my god.
So much talking.
So much.
Kingdom Hearts level of dialogue?
Yes. Yes.
It's a lot to get through, but it wouldn't be a problem, and I know that a lot of people have already complained about this, so this is nothing new, but it wouldn't be a problem if the characters' mouths and eyes actually lined up a little bit more with what was going on, because you'll have this interesting effect where if I'm talking to the camera as a particular, and sorry for the listeners, but if I'm talking to the camera as a person in the game, my eyes would go up here and like while I was talking to you, and my mouth would look like, you remember the Mario Party mini game, the Mario Party mini game where you had to move the face to make it exactly like the picture, and that meant moving the mouth to the left, the eyebrow to the right, top. That's how some of these characters look when you're watching 30 or 40 minutes of dialogue, and some of it doesn't even really matter. Like I liked getting attached to certain characters, but Craig, you got to attest, there's certain people in that game that are part of the main cast of people that are like the protagonist who had a part. It happened early, like 3 hours in the game, and then they didn't matter for like the remaining 6. There's a couple of them
Mhm.
It's just
I'll
like,
tell you that like the ones I was the most attached to, and I don't remember their names in the game, but played the one girl played by Ariel Winter, who's from Modern Family.
mhm.
Um, I enjoyed her character. I liked her a lot. Um, man, who are the
Brenda
other
Song.
characters? Huh?
I know Brendan Song's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The guy who got his arm cut off. I enjoyed him.
he was one of the best people in
Um,
there,
yeah, but
dialogue
that's about
He was
it.
the one dude from Detective Pikachu.
He was okay. He was kind of annoying.
he was.
And then
Um,
isn't there somebody from Righteous Gemstones in there too?
mm, maybe.
The older brother that cons, or is
I
in the
don't
first
think so.
season.
I can't picture him.
And David
Maybe I'm
Arquette.
wrong.
I like
I
David
mean,
Arquette as David Arquette. Yeah,
but
right.
they
But
s-
I just didn't care about 75% of them.
yeah, yeah,
They're
there's a
annoying.
there's an interesting family that you meet, Barry, if you ever play the game. That's
Hmm.
pretty. I guess I use the word interesting incorrectly. They're okay. They're intriguing. They keep the mystery of them
Yeah.
alive enough, and they try to tie everything together. But it just didn't have the adrenaline rush that Until Dawn did. And then, Craig, I don't know if this happened to you, but the ending happened for us, and we were blown away by how underwhelming it was. It
Yeah.
we
Oh, there we go.
we made some specific choices, and then all of a sudden the credits were rolling.
Yeah. It was real quick, right?
It was really quick. And Until Dawn, sorry for anybody who hasn't played the game, but there's this
Hmm.
really intense adrenaline filling scene where you basically are looking at all these characters you've been trying to keep alive,
Yep.
and they're standing between the bad person, the bad thing in the game, and you have
Yep.
to make these quick time event moves to get them all out the house. It was magnificent.
Yep.
The Quarry just we made a couple of decisions, and then all of a sudden we won. Like
Yeah.
we were like we
Yeah.
won. Okay.
There was a couple instances where I thought like the ending for sure. I was like, oh, maybe I got the bad ending because it just kind of ended. I was like, oh, maybe that's just like the really bad ending. There's a instance where when you're in the cabin and it's the two girls and one of them has a shotgun
Mm,
and one of the werewolves is in the house, right? And it's chasing you.
yeah.
And you're making all these decisions. And then it comes to the point where, at least for me, the girls got separated. So one's on this side, the right side of the werewolf, and you're on the other with the shotgun, right?
Hmm.
And the quick time event comes up. Do you shoot at the werewolf? And I'm like, okay, I already found the silver buckshot for the
Yes.
shotgun. I'm good. I'm good, right? So it starts coming towards me. I'm waiting and I'm waiting. I line it up. I shoot. And then the game says, you missed. You're dead. And I was like, what? Wait, what? I was so confused. Like, there wasn't like oh, you hit it, but it didn't die. It said I missed. And
Yeah.
then my character just got mauled and died. And I was like, okay, that's not what it looked like on my screen, but okay, I guess. And I don't know if it was like a glitch. Maybe I did miss, but I was just like, I don't think that's what was supposed to happen there at all. It's just very weird.
Yeah, so two questions for you, very small questions. Number one,
Mhm.
did you have the three rewinds?
No,
Okay, I don't know what
you're
edition.
supposed to get it after you play.
We had them during the game.
Okay.
We
Well, that
only
helps you then. It didn't help me.
Yeah, because the same exact thing happened. Because we're passing
It
the
said you
controller.
missed.
Well, yeah, we're passing the controller to each other. I had that part. I lined it up. Like it's not my first
Yeah.
time holding a gun in a video game. And they gave me
Yeah.
plenty of time to line it up. And it said we missed. We ended up revitalizing that character, but technically if we didn't have those, she would not have been part of the group that remained because it was the same
Okay.
exact thing. Silver slugs, that moment,
Yeah.
and you're like, "What?
Yeah.
I shot that. I shot that."
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Just a weird choice. I don't know if that was designed that way for it to be like, oh, if you decide to shoot at it at all, you die. Maybe that's what they were going for,
I don't
and
know.
they wanted you to run away. But it was just a weird choice. I was not happy with that at all.
No.
I don't think it's a terrible game. I just think
No.
it's not as good as Until Dawn.
It's not.
Yeah.
But if you have a friend who has a copy, borrow it, and give it
Mhm.
a shot because it's definitely worth that. I don't know if you want to spend the $70 on it,
Yeah.
but because it will give you about 10 hours.
Until
But
Dawn's on the PlayStation Plus collection. Go play that.
go play that if you have upgraded your,
Mm,
or
yeah.
I guess you wouldn't need upgraded for that, would you? I
Mm-mm.
think
It's in the
No,
normal
it's just
it's
a
in
PlayStation
the
Plus.
normal.
collection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so go play that.
Hmm.
By all means, go play
Yeah.
that.
Better choice.
Yeah,
I feel better talking that out. Thank you.
yeah, of course, of
Did you
course.
want to talk about that other Shadowfall game?
Very, very, yeah, it's actually a very quick one with that. Shadowrun Returns is the first one. They recommend that you don't start with that one. I am playing the Dragonfall, which is set in Germany. It is the second portion. It is a heck of a lot better because what they did differently in this particular one prior to the other one is that in the other one, it's a turn based game, just like this one. You hire runners for every mission that you have. You come back from the mission, you can hire them again, but they have no story. In this particular one, they have characters that have a backstory. And after every mission, every run that you do, you go back and you talk to the characters, and they do a great job with character development. If you even prompt or respond to their prompts correctly, you get a mission dedicated to each of them. And that's part of the director's cut, which is the one that is available on Xbox. Um, the game itself has a better storyline. In the first one, you were solving a friend's murder that ended up being a lot bigger than what it was supposed to be. This one takes place in Germany. Your leader gets murdered trying to hack into a system. She, like, literally, her head explodes. Basically, she has like a stroke exploded head kind of thing. And you basically take over as leader of the team, and there's dragons in this one, which is great, but it's like the cool dragons, the dragons that are able to look like you and I. They able to look like humans. So they kind of like are within the shadows making things run. But long story short, because I haven't beaten the game yet, if you didn't hear me talk about Shadowrun Returns last week, Shadowrun Dragonfall is the game that you should start with. Do not start with Shadowrun Returns. It is great. If you need something to get you, if you're like me with Mario plus Rabbids, who you're waiting for that game, I don't know how many people are, like I am, but this is the turn based strategy game that is going to get me to that point, and also get me to Xenoblade Chronicles, and before that, Stray. So this is like perfect. So
I don't know about you, Barry, but when he was describing going back and talking to people, I got flashbacks to Scarlet Nexus, and I like shivered a little bit.
He mentioned, and I think
Ugh.
of Fire Emblem.
Ugh.
So
make sure you talk to your
I have
people.
been interested in yeah,
Ugh.
I have been interested in trying that game. Once I get a bit more through the other games I'm playing, like Warriors right now, I probably plan on trying that next. So
It's good. It's a
we'll
lot.
get there eventually. But let's go ahead and talk about the movies for this week and TV shows. For me, I watched The Bad Guys, available on Peacock, and I have also finished Stranger Things.
Yes.
Oh.
What
I
about you
also
guys?
I finished Stranger Things, and I watched The Princess on I think it's on Hulu.
That would be yes.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Craig?
I unfortunately did not finish Stranger Things. It was a pretty light. I know it's okay.
No, we can't.
No, you could
We
talk
can't
about
talk
it.
about the sport. No, we
No.
can't. We can't.
No, I don't want to ruin anything for you.
All right. Well, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna power through it this week because, like, I want you guys
Okay,
to be able to talk about it.
that's fair.
I don't know if I even should
But like
mention.
let me just make sure you've watched like Stranger Things. Like you just have to watch the new season that came out, or like are you talking about like you got to start fresh?
Oh no, I don't have to start fresh. What I personally would like to do is I would like to rewatch season 3 and 4, which, with you, as you guys know, I have a lot more time to do now. So like I
Hmm.
can do that in a week. I could definitely do that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, all
I can
right.
hold off a week. I can hold it in, I guess.
I don't know about me. I have this. I've got one thing I want to talk about so bad, but
Uh-oh.
I'll leave it. I'll leave
Okay.
it.
You know,
Okay.
the thing that I did watch, which I am okay if we don't give any time to, is
Oh,
I
God.
watched Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, which is a
Is that the
4-part.
anime?
Yeah, the 4-part anime that is set in between Resident Evil
Yep.
4 and Resident Evil 5. and
I
Is that the
watched
one
that
on
crap.
it's
It's
on
on
is
Netflix,
that the
right?
one on
It's
Netflix?
on
Oh,
it's
Okay.
I
on
watched that crap.
it's crap.
Oh,
It's such crap. It's so bad.
oh, it's like comfort food crap though.
Yeah, like
Barry,
I,
you should watch it.
yes, I don't want to waste any more.
I'm interested now, to be
Yeah,
honest.
Oh my
it's
god,
not
it's terrible.
it's not good,
It's
man.
it's so bad.
It's not.
Oh, I can't wait.
You know
So
what?
what I'll do is
Good.
I was gonna say I'll just talk about the bad guys, but what were you gonna say?
Go ahead, because I did watch Bad Guys a while ago, but go ahead.
Bad guys, I loved it.
Okay.
I really, really liked. I thought it was really entertaining throughout it all. It has like good slow parts and like when it's slow, it ends up picking up the pace really well. I don't know what to expect like really out of animation movies right now, but I can see why this movie is so generally loved by people who did see it. It's got a really good Rotten Tomatoes rating, and I can see completely why. There isn't much to say about the bad guys, but it's really good. I really liked the voice acting, especially in it too. Everybody does a really good job of voice acting in this movie.
Yeah, I thought it
Yeah,
was
bad
entertaining. I
guys.
thought it was a little slow at times, but overall, I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Um, The Princess, which is on Hulu, I had watched like the short trailer, and I was like, "Oh, that looks interesting." The best way to describe it is she's a princess who is stuck in the top of a tower because she's going to get married to a prince, and she does not want to get married to him. Something we've seen before. But what they don't tell you is that it literally becomes. Did you ever see The Raid?
Hmm.
Uh, Neither one of you?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So they made two of them. The Raid is a foreign movie that was literally like a police officer has to get to the top of this building, kind of like Dread back in the day.
Oh,
And that's what he does.
I saw the
The
first
Raid?
one. I saw the first one.
Okay.
I
Yep.
saw
Yep.
Raid.
This is what they're doing in the Princess, except she has to get from the top of the tower down to the bottom.
Oh wow.
Um, and I did not expect that. And I like the idea of them taking like the classic fairy tale. Like it literally opens with her asleep in the bed, and there's like two knights that come up to the top of the tower to bring her down, and she kills both of them. And it's just literally like it reminded me of The Raid, a little bit of like a female John Wick set in medieval times, where
Yeah.
she's just like knives and arrows and all that kind of stuff. It was super entertaining. Like I like that idea of like I don't need a huge story, right? She's at the top of the tower. She's trying to get away from this guy who's sending people up to bring her down, and she just got to get to the bottom. That's all I need, right? Her father, the king, is in the prison at the bottom. She's got to go rescue him and her mom and her sister. But she has been like trained secretly. She's been training to be like this badass, and she just like kills so many people. Um, it's like those stupid movies are so much fun to me. Where like I don't need a complex plot, just let her go.
Yeah.
And she does a great job. So like if you have Hulu, definitely check that out. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good hour and a half. But yeah, that's what I watched. I thought it was cool, and we'll do the Stranger Things. Barry, you can just text me what you need to tell me
Okay, I can do
if you
that.
need to get it off your chest this week.
And I will commit to getting it up to date so we can have a nice long chat about it.
Okay, I like
I
that.
got it.
I like that idea.
So we've come to the conclusion that the Resident Evil anime
so
is
bad.
trash enough that I should watch
It's
it.
so
Watch it.
It's so trash.
We can talk about it for 15 hours straight
It's so
because
bad.
it's that
Really?
awful.
Mm.
It's so
Eh,
bad.
It's
I
so
can't. I
bad.
can't wait to have all three of us in Barry's anime corner. So I'll
It's
watch it.
it's the dark, dark corner of anime.
It's really bad,
Dark,
man.
dark corner. I think that's probably like I watch anime on Netflix, so I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen it. So a part of me thinks Netflix knows that they're burying it so
Yep.
far deep that I don't see it.
They're ashamed.
The only positive thing about it is that Leon and Claire are in it, and that's it.
Mhm.
Just that their presence
Okay.
is in it. But like,
I'll give it
I
a shot.
can't.
They're there.
They're there. They're there. It's so bad. It's so bad.
I'll give it a shot.
Sorry.
Why not?
Yep.
So that's going to be it for the podcast this week, guys. Thank you for listening. If you did like it, please make sure to share it with friends and review it on your podcast listening platform of choice. If you're interested in contacting or emailing us, we do have an email at hightsensitivitypodcast@gmail.com. And if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Sorry I couldn't get the video up last week. It was corrupted. I spent way too much time on it. But we have some cool intros. The logo, I think a lot of people like it. So
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you everybody who's done that, and just continue to support us in however you can. I really appreciate all the new listeners we've been getting this week. Once I have a little bit of moolah saved up, I plan on rewarding people.
All
So
right.
just stay tuned for that. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.
See you later. Happy 4th.